Oh, the things we do, folks, the things we do. I'm actually now, now I'm preparing. So, just in case you're wondering what's going on, I'm still preparing. And now I'm prepared. And the hat, well, the hat was because I was looking through my wardrobe for something and I found it and I realized I haven't worn it for so long that I thought it would be quite cute to wear. But now it's irritating me because I'm like, okay, I can't see anything, so we're going to discard that. We're talking about fame. First of all, let me explain why. As you can see, if you're a long-term viewer of the lives of our days, hello, darling. You can see that we've made some changes around the place, and there's some new shows coming up, and we'll let you know about the other shows coming up shortly. And this show we've titled, well, the Sandhya show, and that may seem like it's. Does it sound arrogant to say that? The
No,
Sandhya show,
no.
right? I mean, Oprah called it Oprah. Why
Yeah.
not? That's right. They all call themselves. So why can't I? Just because they're famous? I'm not. I always have felt. I really don't want to do that, but now's the time.
Yeah.
I'm in my 50s now. I'm in my 50s now. It's the Sandhya show. I've got a lot of information in here, and that's what the Sandhya show is about. Because we can't, thanks, darling. We can't quite put. I mean, what title do you give? Just for me having an hour where I want to talk about certain issues. Now, long-term viewers will know that during the Daily Egg or when I've just decided to go live at random times previously, I have just vomited out information and things I know and subjective, opinions which are subjective and observations and insights. I think I'd like to have that now as a topical thing. So every week we've got the Sandhya show where I do address some issues. And what I want to address, first of all, is fame. Because, well, I've had some experience with it. And now that I'm in my 50s, I'm pursuing a semblance of it. Not necessarily fame, but renown. And with that renown, opportunities. And those opportunities well, I guess opportunities beget opportunities, and with opportunities that we get, we would like to pass that on in various other ways, help others live their best lives. We're talking about fame because I'm seeing things. I sound like I feel like I'm talking in a scripted way, and that's not me at all. I don't talk in scripted ways, and right now I'm trying to talk in such a way. Well, the way I'm talking sounds like I'm stilted and it's scripted. So what am I saying here? Give me a moment to get myself together. This is the beauty of lives. You can see all the back of house stuff, the behind the scenes, the takes that should not really. So the bloopers, right? So you'll see the bloopers as they happen. I'm talking about fame because I mentioned it a little bit in this morning's The Daily Egg, because of some things I'm seeing around the traps, around the information highway, etc., etc. Jennifer Lopez is currently copping it for many reasons, which I don't think are entirely fair. Disclosure, long-term viewers know that I'm not necessarily a fan of Jennifer Lopez's. That doesn't mean I'm a detractor. I wasn't, but I have followed her career somewhat because it's been interesting to see the um, the molding of how she like I don't think that Jennifer Lopez has a specific talent. Her talent is her. And there's a lot of people like that in the fame game and who are celebrities. So there's that thing. So what is fame really for? Fame, who is responsible for it? Who makes fame? Who makes someone famous? People, right? People watching, people, the way they appreciate, the way they connect. And everyone seems to develop this parasocial relationship. I said that this morning in the Daily Egg. And parasocial meaning, well, really just one-sided. It's not unrequited. It's one-sided, where people fall in love with celebrities, or they think that they're the celebrity's best friends. Swifties, I'm looking at you. And also the Bayhive, that's Beyonce's tribe, and they all have an army of some sort. I think that BTS is the Korean, well, the global phenomenon, really, and I take it they're no longer together. I have recently heard one song of theirs. It's a different age group, but it sounds very much like Michael Jackson's music of the 70s and 80s, or 80s, sorry, especially 70s and 80s. So every generation has their pop stars of a certain caliber. But we're talking about fame. Oh my gosh, why have I followed Jennifer Lopez's? Because I've never quite understood what it is she was striving to get fame for. And then I realized she's getting fame for herself. This has coincided with a time where I was coming off a platform of fame. In the 90s, I spent a huge part of that decade really well known, particularly in the country of my birth, Fiji. I had my career path in radio and singing and modeling and television. Naturally, made me very visible and in the public eye. Those of you who do know my background and my backstories and have been long-term viewers, you know that I used being in the public eye to as an invisibility cloak for the trauma I was suppressing. Don't worry about all that. I'm not going to talk about that right now. It's if you are interested, I do share my story in a series called Sandhya, My Story, where trauma therapy, my healing journey and all that. But because I chose fame to be my invisibility cloak, I didn't actually chase fame. I didn't choose fame. I chose to be in careers that were made the most of my skill set. I knew I wanted to be on radio. I've been on radio since I was 12. These stories I will share with you in another program we have coming up, and please stay tuned for that. We'll let you know if you look at the channel page. You've got all the upcoming shows, and press that bell, get notified, and join us for those conversations, or conversations. They're stories I'm going to be sharing. So I have had my love of radio since I was 12, and I was 18 when I was able to work as a radio announcer, and I absolutely loved the responsibility of it. And I did then start getting fame, because back then we didn't have this numbers game. We had invisible numbers, where we only really knew how good we were when the ratings hit and when advertisers wanted to advertise with us. And that was like, oh my gosh, I am doing something right. So this responsibility was, excuse me, let me just change the camera angle. Let's just pretend there's different cameras at different angles. It was a huge responsibility for me, and I never chased fame. It was just really nice when I would go somewhere, and at that stage, radio, we didn't have television there, and I wasn't visible, physically visible, but people who recognized my voice. And back then I had a deeper voice, a mellifluous voice, because I was very much orating and speech and all that stuff. So my voice was deeper, but over time, I guess you lose that quality, and I can sometimes sound like I am speaking through my nose. But we should all learn to speak from our diaphragms. So, but when people would start recognizing me through my voice, and would you believe that in the country of my birth, there are still people there who do recognize me from my voice. It is the most humbling thing to be on the phone with someone that you need to do you need to contact them to, like, I don't know, to change a plane trip, which is, change a flight, etc., which is what happened at that stage, at the story I'm recounting. And, and then she said, "Excuse me, ma'am, are you Sandhya Nand?" Yes, well, hello, and maybe I said my name, so, And then she said, I grew up listening to you. And she said a few other things that were just, and I'm like, it's so lovely. It's so nice to know that your choices for yourself made a positive impact on other people, and that so positive that they keep you in their minds for however long. Because when this was said to me, would have been about 25 years since I was last on air in Fiji. And it was really, really lovely for that to happen. And to walk down the street and be recognized. It's really lovely. Fame is lovely, but it's a responsibility. That's how I've always seen it. So from radio, I went to modeling when I was discovered by legends. Again, please stay tuned for the stories that I will share about all those times, complete with photographs and footage, because this is not just about me. It is about the times. So stay tuned for that. We'll let you know. It'll be up on our channel when that show will drop. It'll be talking about the 80s and the 90s from my viewpoint as someone who was smack bang in the middle of how progressive it was back at that time, worldwide. And so it's a look at Fiji, Australia, the world, Asia, and the times and what was happening. But right now I'm talking about fame. So I was saying this parasocial relationship that people have. I have experienced it, where people think that they know you because they've heard you in their ears, they've seen you modeling, and television. I used to read the news, and that's when I really, really, everyone had already, when I started modeling, people put the face to the voice they'd been listening to, and then that was just in the metropolitan areas of Fiji. But when I did start reading the news a few years after that, and as I said, stay tuned for those shows coming up, complete with footage and photographs, etc., telling the stories about those times. But right now we're talking about fame of these times. It may seem like, if you look around my portfolio, if you look at this channel, etc., that all this is about chasing fame. I've never chased fame. Fame has found me, as it does those who have something to give from a platform. So for mass appeal, because everybody has something in them that is appealing to other people, but they aren't necessarily people who have the skill set to be famous, etc. I don't know what I'm saying about that. What is fame now? We seem to just attribute fame or equate fame with celebrity, with entertainment celebrity. Our scientists as famous, our doctors as famous. Who, there are people who should be famous who are not. And of course, there's people in various countries of the world that, because they are multicultural, they will never be as famous as, say, some of the Eurostream people because of Hollywood. And because we must concede or admit or not admit. We must concede and we must agree that this is a Euro construct world. I have been privileged enough to not see that as a world to look up into and say, oh, that's not for me. I have always looked at it and gone, well, that's interesting, and I have grown up in it. But I don't look at it as something that I'm removed from. I look at the Euro constructs, at the societies we have now, the templates, and all the global North countries, or all the Euro template countries. And I do think, well, they do need a lot of catching up to do, but that's a story for another time, a conversation for another time. Because it's a very deeper conversation about how multicultural people, especially, and people from countries that are of multi-cultures, are left out of the success games in the Euro construct. It's very strange. It's very strange. But anyway, talking about fame, right? I am not chasing fame. I have never chased fame. That's really far too boring a thing to do, because fame requires far too much ass kissing, something I just cannot do. I am not very good at that, and I found that out a long time ago when I was subjected to certain things, like for instance, okay, in my mid-20s was taken out of the comfort zone of being a big fish in a small pond. And I quickly learned that, oh my gosh, even in a place that I am not at all known, if I apply my skills, I will. So that was a huge learning curve for me, and something I talk about in these stories when I talk about life back in the 80s and 90s from a point of view of someone who was made famous and what it was like to look at life from that point of view back then. It was very progressive back in Fiji, and that's another thing I'd like to talk about too, about how progressive it was. Excuse me, my battery is, these are the things that you don't get to see in the commercial TV channels, and I hope we never ever change it, because I do love the reality of all of this. This is reality TV. This is reality TV. Bloopers and all. So, where was I? I still haven't plugged my phone in, is where I was. Excuse me. Fame is weird. People really, really change around you. It's not the person who's gaining fame who changes. It's everyone around that person. All of a sudden, people who've known you for a while, either just, I guess it would be the relationship of, say, two best friends who decide to run for, they go for politics, right? And one is then made president and the other vice president, and the vice president still has to call their friend, by their title of president. It's that relationship changes. The dynamic changes. So I've seen it too, how other people change, or they start thinking that you've changed simply because, well, the more fame you get, the more actual privacy you require, because the more people think they own you in a visible public way, the more you have to really assert time and ownership of yourself. And I have always done that, where when people demanded of my time because of that fame that they think gives them the right to demand that time of you, I have said no. And unfortunately, that then becomes me being difficult or belligerent or rude. And a lot of very famous people can attest to that. Jennifer Lopez, I talk about a lot, right? Interesting study here, because right now she, as I said, she's getting a lot of she's flack on her own accounts. It must be awful, because what people forget, famous people are real people. Famous people are really just like you and me. They just have more money. And they may have that fame, but do you really understand what it means to be famous? Everyone thinks it's so glamorous. Everyone thinks, because that's how it's perceived, because everybody likes to show their highlight feed, right? They don't show the truths of it. Jennifer Lopez has not shown the many days I'm sure she spent crying about why people hate her, because people are brutal. And once you give your life over to people's perspective of you, once you make it about how you want to be perceived by them, instead of like, whoa, this is me, take it or leave it, then you are a slave to people. And they then feel that they have a right to cut you down, that tall poppy syndrome. Holy cow. Holy cow. I've experienced that too. And that comes in the form of gossip and blatant lies. And as I said, if you say no to something just once, all of a sudden, no, she's really, really rude. She's so horrible. She's a bitch. And I'm like, I just, whatever. But, generally, if you're a genuinely good person, I think people can see that. And then how they react to you is really, well, that's their problem. How they want to, feel about you. I've had people, just because I'm well known, hate me on sight. And actually, no, even I'm not well known anymore. I stepped off the limelight stage in 1999, but that doesn't mean I have stopped pursuing my skills and my skill set and gaining more and more experience and accomplishing more in that. And because of that, I have stayed relatively in some recognition level, where people know that I'm someone who does this stuff, who is in the public eye and can what am I saying here? Can perform publicly. Yeah, I don't know. But I have deliberately not chased fame. That doesn't. Okay, in the early 2000s, I did actually pursue radio. I did pursue television. Again, stay tuned for those stories. The first part one of those stories, dropping next week. Stay tuned to our channel. Please do subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. Stay notified, and you will. I'd love you to join us on our various shows. We've got some other, really fantastic things coming up. As you can see on our channel, what's coming up, we've got the Riff. Before that, we've got Stylander. Join me. This is where I will be talking about favorite pieces, and I'll be talking about fashion, the philosophy, the history, the purpose, and the fun, and talking about right now, while we're still gaining traction in terms of funding, right now, it is just everything me and everything Dwayne and me. And I would love to really showcase more of Dwayne's skills, because all the things he does is incredible. So right now, that's where it is. But if you have listened to our various podcasts, all are under Radio Fly. RF2, the interviews, Spotlight is on people, movers, shakers, paradigm shifters, and RF3, which is Radio Fly FM. Well, that's going to have some really, really cool things. So if you can't watch us, you can also listen to us. Between us, Dwayne and I have accumulated a lot of information, especially me, and experience. And with that experience comes knowledge. Excuse me, I'm just going to take a sip of tea. I'm not spilling any. I do like to sip it. I'm just going to turn the volume off for a few seconds. Only because I don't want to gulp in your ears. What was I saying? I've forgotten my thread. This is why I've had to compartmentalize. So the Sandhya show is where I just not blurt. I don't ever blurt. I do compose myself. The paragraphs are being written in my brain before they flow. But I do tend to forget my thread and my place sometimes. And then I'll remember it later on. So the channel, if you look around, we're sharing a lot of stories right now. It's just Dwayne and me. And as we gain financial traction, then we will be bringing in other people, because I'd love to showcase and highlight everybody else. We want equity. We build our platforms. I have always done everything to expand the platform I'm in, because I believe the spotlight should then become a lighthouse. And that lighthouse is to show people what they can be. And that lighthouse should then in turn become a spotlight to then put those people on that platform. These are things that should be done. This is why fame is a responsibility. And so many people don't understand that. People use fame as some sort of therapy, or finding themselves, or as a substitute for understanding themselves. Fame now is there's such a buffer zone between fame and those who make people famous, that we don't actually really know our celebrities, regardless of how they portray themselves on social media. And also, how awful to have your entire life be splashed out for everyone to talk about, in terms of, oh my gosh, if you've ever read any celebrity accounts comment section, terrible. Absolutely awful. That's why I think, do you really want fame? If you've ever been gossiped about or lied about in our day-to-day normal lives without that fame, imagine what it would be like to have newspapers and tabloids, even magazines, splash your private life mayhem. Because a lot of these celebrities do, don't they? They have mayhem. It's because so many of them can't actually cope with their fame. How many of them are so troubled? I keep talking about Jennifer Lopez. Why? Because I'm actually feeling sorry for her. As I have mentioned, I am not a detractor, but I have been in recent times, and that's because we are the same age. She may be about 6 months older than me. And, we're in the same industry, sort of, not really. Singing-wise, though. And because I've always been conscious of my singing voice, my singing ability has got a lot to do. I can sing, don't get me wrong. The reason why I chose to go and apply that skill is because I know I could sing. Not because I want to be famous, I'm just going to go do something to make me famous. No, we didn't have auto-tune back in Fiji and all that shit. I sang live with bands, with prestigious bands. Again, stay tuned for the story part 1 dropping next week, and I'll tell you more about all of that. It's interesting to me that they will choose who to make famous based on what? Based on what? Who they can sell, who they can mold, and they being the studios, they being the production houses, etc., who they can mold to what they think, what they want the audience to want. We are very much now dictated to by our own. It's an interesting cycle. So we get told what we like, and then we tell them what we like, but it was actually what we were told we like. So we tell the creators what we like based on what they forced us to like. Yeah, have I articulated that? I'm not sure. I am talking about fame from a very personal point of view. So when I read Jennifer Lopez's comments, because she has released an album and it's called "This Is Me Now," which is a riff or a wordplay pun on something, an album of hers that was called "This Is Me Back Then" or something, I don't know. And she's co-released a movie, a musical movie. Now, this was always going to be problematic, especially on considering the English-speaking world, or pop stream, pop whatever culture world already knows the brilliance of Beyonce and what she has been able to do with her visual albums and how she does that. That is pure art, and she takes her heritage, her culture, the modern day society, and that's what she creates. I don't think Jennifer Lopez has ever thought that deeply. Right now, she's getting a lot of flack for the fact that she continuously says she's from the Bronx. She's not quite from the Bronx, and she doesn't want to acknowledge her privilege. I didn't realize that people think it's a better story to say, well, actually, I came from really hard and I made it all myself, whereas I know that that's not true. Privilege is what gets the opportunities. I freely acknowledge all the privileges I have had. I acknowledge that because of those privileges, I've had opportunities that had put me in the path, or put people in my path. Whatever, the opportunities came because of the privileges I had. Opportunities are not a rags to riches tale. This is why we do love a rags to riches tale. But again, we also have to check our privilege, because on that intersectionality ladder, where do you stand? It is a bit difficult. I am a privileged brown woman, an Indo-Fijian woman from Fiji. In Fiji at one time, that put me right at the top. I don't know, maybe not because of my racial grouping. And I am a brown woman, but I'm aware that I am a lighter melanin or a lesser melanin. So again, there's that colorism, and that intersectionality ladder is based on a lot of bias and bigotry. So I think it's shit. I mean, it exists, so I can't, but how it is determined is shit, is what I'm saying. You have to acknowledge the privileges, and I think that the fact that Lopez doesn't acknowledge her privileges, instead like to tell people that she did it really, really hard, and I'm sure they do, because even in middle class, in demographics, people have to do it hard. Yes, there may be privileges like a house and cars, etc., and good schools, but you've got parents who are really, really working hard to make sure that their children have access to the opportunities that the privilege gets them, the privilege of the hard work of their parents, etc. So I guess this is what happened to Lopez, and that people from the Bronx are actually getting really sick of the way she describes the Bronx. And this is what she's getting a lot of flack for at the moment, like, quit already. And over time, and as a journalist, I have spoken with other journalists and how they have all interacted with Lopez. And Lopez is one of those celebrities that if you are not there to kiss her ass or do, or if she can't get something from you, she doesn't care. These celebrities are there because they want revenge on people. They want to fill something empty within them. The fame isn't about their merit. They are their fame. They took the writ out of merit and made it about me. That's what that kind of fame is. So that's why I've watched Lopez thinking, wow, how are you doing this? And it's all got to do with the personality. If you know how to network, if you're a personality that people love on the surface, like we'll talk about, what's her name? Michelle? Lizzo? Lizzo is her name, right? Well, I've always seen her as someone a bit like that too. Like, ooh, you're not chasing fame for your skill. You're chasing it for, you want revenge. Because sadly, I hate to say this, I feel like all I'm doing is pulling down women of color, women of stature as well. And excuse me, women who have deserved the right to be where they are. Because regardless of why they want to be where they are, and that's the problem, unfortunately, because of the egos that haven't been fulfilled by self. And they're chasing validation. And validation is one of those buzzwords at one time. Right now, there's all sorts of other buzzwords according to what society is trying to do for itself. And, at the moment, we've got all the therapeutical terms like emotional regulation, which I love, and also trigger, etc., etc. I like that word too. And red flags, I love that term too. So these things are so great. They absolutely describe all that shit. But as I have said before, trauma was something that we only heard on CSI, and they were accompanied by the words blunt and force. But otherwise, trauma was not something that anyone discussed, especially not Gen X, and especially not Gen X women. And I think you'll find that a lot of Gen X women, that is women 50 and above, especially between 50 and 60, well, because we're caught in an interesting bridge. We're not quite old. We're very, very much finger on the pulse of what's happening, but it's like, yeah, don't want to do that much. Don't want to try that hard. Don't want to be that, youth is not that relevant. This is another thing about fame. All these people, and I now will also bring in one of the original supermodels who absolutely deserves all the adulation, etc., because Naomi Campbell is the slayer, the runway slayer, catwalk we called it back then. But, why this need to stay young looking? I don't get that. That's such a trapping of fame. And that's when people who become famous when they're young think that that is what is the relevant thing about them, their youth. Regardless, especially in a physical world where we are all stimulated by visual, what we see visually, and this is a physical world, we do judge a book by its cover because we're meant to. It's a language. This vessel we're in is actually the billboards for who we are inside. And I can always tell when something's not quite there. And I see it in people like Lopez and Naomi Campbell with all the fakery that they apply. Now, Lopez doesn't go so far as to, well, I don't know. She says it's olive oil. She's got a skincare company. And what is this need for constant money? This constant accumulation of money? I don't get it. And it's, and people believe that just because they're famous, they're I guess people look to famous people to tell the truth, right? And that's what I had said at the start. Fame is a responsibility. When you are famous or you are putting yourself in a path of visibility, you have to accept that responsibility of transparency and truth. And all these celebrities that are so, I don't quite understand, because everyone seems to know the truth about, say, the Kardashians, and how none of that is true. How all of it is based on, for starters, well, it's all based on, exploiting, isn't it? It's all based on, well, capitalizing on something. So we all know it's quite famous. Kim Kardashian, that sex tape, her mother actually put all of that into play. And I think, okay, well, power to you. If they were going to do that anyway, and Kris Jenner stepped in and said, not on my watch, I'm making money out of it. Good, fine, cool. But also, really? Really, Mom? You're going to make money out of your daughter's vagina? Sure. Okay. Cool. The Kardashians, I think they changed the whole fame game quite significantly. I mean, what are they famous for? What are they famous for? And yet, once when I think this was during that, in 2022, I had 24 hours of COVID. We were in Fiji. And I was kind of bored when I wasn't dying. Oh my gosh, seriously, I have had a fairly mild form of COVID, and it was really, really bad. It was really bad. So 24 hours, but I was fine after that. And I do attribute that to good health. Dwayne was really very, nutrition and clean eating based. But also that does involve cakes and biscuits. So clean eating does not just mean, eating like only egg whites and a grapefruit. Like, fuck that. This planet gave us so much bounty. Everything in moderation is what we do. Everything in moderation. But also, we are vaccinated. And I am pro-medicine, very much pro-science, but choose wisely. We know that if they do want to kill us, and when they do eventually want to top us all off, they're not going to do it by vaccinations. Like, how stupid are they? They will do it in other ways. Like, come on, anti-vaxxers, get some sense. Don't just stop at your comfort zone. Push the narrative a little bit more. Don't just apply the stories to fit your narrative. So because of the vaccinations, I feel that it was just 24 hours. Anyway, I actually took the time to count out how many, I have never followed any of the Kardashian accounts. I've never actually watched any of their shows, but they are pop culture icons. And so you'd be hard pressed to find someone in the Eurostream and pop culture stream who does not know about the Kardashians. So, I counted. They have billions of followers. Billions. Sure, some are overlapping. They've got so many accounts. There's, I don't know, about 10 of them anyway. And then they've got other things that they do. And it's just billions and billions of account followers. And wow, the responsibility they have. They could be changing the world because people, for some reason, resonate with the Kardashians just because the Kardashian women are half Armenian and half Euro-white American. Armenian American and Euro-white American. And the others who are the Jenners, well, they're all white. But for some reason, all Euro-white, for some reason people think that because of their coloring, etc., that they are multicultural. I was going to say ethnic, and I cannot stand that word ethnic to describe someone of a multicultural background, because ethnic, an ethnic minority, Euro-white people in China would be an ethnic minority, But wow, they have billions of followers, and what do they do with that fame? Oh my gosh. They just make themselves even more insecure. They look at themselves from from the perspective of fame, and they go, oh my gosh, I need more ass, I need more boobs, I need more fillers. I don't know what the hell. And filters on top of that, filters. Oh my goodness me. And Naomi Campbell, because she was made famous at a very, very vulnerable time of her life, in teens, all of these supermodels, the original supermodels, were plucked to become supermodels, to become the epitome of womanhood at very young ages before they were barely out of their girlhood. So no wonder they're all going to be a bit fucked up about what their worth is when their currency, when their value was based on the way they look. So of course they look at themselves and go, oh my gosh, I'm not valuable anymore. So fame is toxic if you do not know what you're doing, and if you are not mature. I do think that fame is really the realm of older people, not younger people, because younger people are just not equipped with what it takes, the intestinal fortitude and the strength of self to withstand fame, to understand fame. Which is why in my 50s I am now finally going, okay, all right, if fame is going to come for me, now I want it. I never chased fame. And as I said earlier, I used fame as an invisibility cloak because I didn't want anyone to know my story, my story, which is, as I have said, I'm not private about this. I've been very, very visible and very open because it is very liberating to tell the truth. It is very, very liberating to start from a clean slate and not have anything to be afraid of, to not be hiding something. Well, back then, at 18, when I decided to pursue visible things, it was because of my skills, because I was very sure of myself and my skills. And I just knew, okay, no time to feel sorry for myself. Just do it. Just take a leap of faith. Around that time, when I was 18, 1989, pop stream, Hollywood Now, Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade came out. And in that, and I have cited this a few times in the Daily Egg, etc., there is a particular scene in that, directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Harrison Ford and Sean Connery. Excuse me. So there's a scene towards the end where Indy has to make a really difficult decision. And that scene was directed exceptionally well because it's Steven Spielberg, okay? And just, that leap of faith. Just taking one leap of faith to change your perspective. And if you've seen this movie, and if you don't remember it, please do go see it, or I will share a snippet of it. I'll share it here. I'll share the link to the snippet of that scene because I know it's on YouTube, and you'll understand why I say take a leap of faith and change your perspective. And I know that that's what I looked at and thought, great, I am doing this. I'm going to change. I can do this. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Because I know it doesn't look it. Because outward confidence makes people think, look at her. She's so arrogant. She's got this ego, blah, blah, blah. It's really inside. It's like, actually, I'm really kind of shy. I just want to apply my skills and I apply my confidence to that. And so that's what makes me look like I'm really confident because yes, I am. In my skills, I really am. And I have always been because I pour my passion, my soul, and people of merit do, artists do. We pour our passion, our energy, our soul into our artistry. And that's where the confidence comes from. But people who want fame for themselves, then rely on it, on themselves, and in a way that shows me something about who they are. And it is about filling who they are inside, rather than fulfilling who they are inside. So I see that with Lizzo, I see that with Lopez, and I don't quite understand Naomi Campbell because she has definitely proven her merit. Why she needs to prove her value by stuffing her face full of fillers, and that is going to be next week's topic on the Sandhya show: cosmetic surgery and cosmetic enhancements, etc. What do you feel about it? If you are watching this, please do join me next week around this time between 12 and 5. I will schedule it so you will know for sure. And we will talk cosmetic surgery and what that means. I'm in my 50s, okay? And I assure you, I do look at my face sometimes and go, what's this? But I also look at it and go, it's so nice to be just so comfortable in your own skin that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you know how juicy it feels to be you. We'll talk about that next week. I still want to talk a little bit about fame. Oh my gosh. So with Naomi and the rest of her supermodel sisters, they're all fabulous. Out of all of them, I think Christy Turlington is the one who actually aged naturally. I mean, they're supermodels. They were always going to be freaks of nature. They were always going to be these impossibly beautiful, tall, skinny works of art. Their beauty was their beauty, and we'll talk about beauty as well. Their beauty was the billboard for their skill of how to utilize that beauty. And that is what beauty is meant for. And we'll talk about that. Dwayne and I will be talking about that on another show coming up called The Crush. And this is where we, really, the crunch, sorry, they get into topics. I called it The Crush. It's The Crunch. Wow. And we really crunch into our topics and we'll be talking about the intelligence of beauty and the privilege of beauty, and what that all means and how it's subjective, etc., and also biological. But right now we're talking about fame and how so much of it is conflated with beauty, because beauty does make people famous. It does give them a level of fame, and certainly with actors and actresses especially, and so many of them must just look at themselves, especially the ones who got famous young, and as they grow they look at themselves on this huge screen, and I can imagine they must go, and so therefore they stop. They stop their skin and their psyche from evolving and growing by stunting their outward self, by stunting how they see themselves. They stunt themselves. Fame is a crazy thing. I see all these young people desperate for fame. They want it because they see how everybody gets accolades and all the rewards of fame and all the prestige and all the, the fancy clothes, the travel, all of that stuff. That's money, right? So fame gets money, not necessarily. Before, but the fame thing has changed. Before you would, you do your thing, and people in the industries you're in will look at you and go, yeah, that one, she's got something, she's got a spark. Now though, they require you to show blood. It's like, there's so many to choose from, which one's bleeding the most? And that's usually the hustlers, the ones who are loudest, the ones who are constantly stalking the streets so that paparazzi can get them. By the way, there is a way to recognize when celebrities and their public relations people have informed the paparazzi to come and go and photograph them wherever the celebrity is. Not all the photographs you see in the tabloids, etc., are because the celebrity was caught unaware. Most times, their public relations team have called the photo agency. So if you see backgrid anywhere on a celebrity photo, you know that was organized between the celebrity's team and the paparazzi and the media agency. So, I mean, so many of them have got deals with photo agencies to Photoshop them before they send those, the photographs are bought by all the different publications, etc. Because most people, for instance, know what Lopez looks like, but Lopez on her Instagram account insists it's just olive oil. Olive oil filter? Sure. Come on. I am a 53-year-old brown woman. I know what we look like. Genetic luck, some maintenance. I've never really had these intense skin regimes. I mean, I see people with 10-step skin regimes morning and night, and fillers and filters. And I think the problem isn't with the way you look. It's the problem is how you look at yourself. It's so sad. It makes me so sad. And it's worse because women are the ones who are not only judged, but talked about like this, pulled apart. Look at me naming names of really fantastic women. People who like Jennifer Lopez say she's lovely, and I'm sure she must be to people around her, hopefully. I don't know. But I do also know there are personalities who are just horrid behind the scenes. I've seen them. When you are a famous person or you have fame, you are also then friends with other famous people, and you see what they're like, and you think, oh, no. What happened to your public persona? I tend to be more reserved in public. On stage, I'm gregarious because that's where my skill sets unfold. On a mass appeal stage, that's where. But I'm not very much a networker off stage. I don't need that fame off stage. I don't need the adulation. I certainly don't need the validation, and I don't need the accolades. I'm very happy to be on stage, get acknowledgement. Come on, get acknowledgement for what I do, and get paid. And then, thank you very much. I'm leaving now, and I'm just go with my husband and just live a normal life. That's it, and use your prestige from the privilege of fame to help others and assist others in living their life. And to me, that means with that fame should come the financial rewards. And with those financial rewards, we live well and we assist others in living their best lives. We have got so many platforms, including this one, that we would love to employ people, contributors, and just freelance contract people, because I don't want to be an employer. I would like people to have autonomy and independence, and we're peers, and I have opportunities, and they want those opportunities. And this is what we're doing with the Lives of Our Days and our magazine platform, The Stylander. But yes, that's all talk for another time. So it's not chasing fame. I would like fame to find me for bigger picture reasons, and because I have a lot of knowledge, and I've been accumulating knowledge since I was a child, because I used information as the way to shield myself from the trauma I was experiencing. I like to fill my mind with information. So I am very grateful for that, because I then never chose oblivion. Usually traumatized children do grow up into people who seek oblivion from the constant onslaught of memories that threaten to derail us at every step. I have used my artistry, and I don't put my pain in my artistry, because I believe in joy. I believe in love. There is enough pain in the world, and if I can be someone who doesn't contribute to that pain, but that doesn't mean that my artistry isn't infused with all of me. I put my activism in my artistry. I put my sadness in it too, that despite that, I know that how I was feeling, that despite what I look like on a stage, or haughty on a runway, or singing, etc., entertaining, or on a television, and I'm being very confident and calm, and I look very capable, which I am, by the way. But that those personas, and on radio it's da 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 da. I now know the sadness behind it all. So I then was able to look at other people and go, wow, what's behind your mask? What's behind what you show to the public? Gives you a better understanding of other people. I was talking about Naomi Campbell. Just let me finish a little bit about her. What a slayer she is. But she is holding on so hard to something that she will never get back. Youth. I can see that, no. She's never going to be happy. And she's got 2 children now. And I do think that women should be older when they have children, especially if they give birth. I know that sounds crazy, but not birth, but if it's via surrogate, etc. So if it's by genetic, no, forget what I just said. People should be parents when they're older, when they have gained wisdom, which is merely, experience and the knowledge from that, and insights from experience, etc. And that's wisdom. Fame is not for everybody. And unfortunately, the people who have got fame now, they have put smoke and mirrors everywhere that people don't really know what they're looking at. People forget things like, well, for instance, let's take Brad Pitt into account. Brad Pitt, right? Because his PR team, by the way, his PR person, and I'm going to talk about this on another Sandhya show, or maybe in another show. So Brad Pitt's publicist was also Harvey Weinstein and Miramax's publicist, right? So his publicist is known for the spin doctoring that they do. Have we all forgotten? Well, I certainly haven't, and I make sure everyone else who hears me doesn't forget either, that Brad Pitt assaulted his wife, superstar Angelina Jolie. She continues to get maligned while he, makes one movie after the other, and acts the clown on red carpets when he should be giving way to his younger co-stars. But no, he needs to have the limelight on him, because it was never about his art. It was always about Brad Pitt. You can always tell when something is about someone and not their artistry and not their merit. Fame, boy, I see young people wanting it so desperately, because they think it gives them accolades. They don't quite understand what they have to give up for it to get those kinds of accolades that they want. They don't understand that they will no longer have access to autonomy. Fame on a large scale, to production houses, to studios, etc., etc. You do sign a contract, a soul contract, you do. And for instance, things like, so Beyonce, etc., etc., all these big stars, they get the people try to cancel them, or a lot of activists cite all these entertainment stars who didn't get into fame for responsibility. They pursued fame or merit, recognition of their merit, for their merit or for them. They didn't pursue this, or they didn't court fame for responsibility so that they can get to a point in time where they are able to tell people something. They don't really care. And the other thing I have about this, because I'm seeing a lot of pro-Palestine activists, etc., which you have to be pro-Palestine because that is pro-humanity, okay? But they like to pull these entertainers down, and I agree somewhat. I agree, because with all of this, all of their platforms, with all of the power they have to change people's minds, or do they? People do have minds of their own. And unfortunately, these people also think that they own these superstars, that parasocial relationship. So yes, they could be saying things like ceasefire. And Beyonce copped flack for the fact that her movie Renaissance was shown in Israel. I'm not condoning any of this. I'm not supporting any of this. I'm not making any excuses for any of it. But I also understand who all these people are. And frankly, for the Black American side of things, I do think, well, for Beyonce, do Black Americans have equality? Do they have, absolute rights in the state of America yet? No. So Beyonce's keeping her activism right now where she feels she can make a difference. I don't speak for her. What do I know? What do I know about her fantastic publicists and their motives for what they want? But I do think Beyonce is making a difference, especially to Black American women. So what do white people, Euro people don't have the right, but I see it. And all the Taylor Swift fan. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. I acknowledge that she is extremely talented. Not for me, a bit bland, and I get why her audience likes her. They are all angst-ridden and heartbroken too, because this is where Taylor Swift became a billionaire from, milking people's heartbreak. Okay, sure. What's that fame she wanted for? To tell, what do people want fame for? What do you want fame for if you want to be famous? Why are we all here on these channels? What is it that we want? I know we want to share our skills, and that's what artistry is about. Artistry is never going to be just, oh look, we're just closed doors, I don't want anyone to see what I'm doing. The very nature of artistry, the very nature of artists means that they were given the ability to channel some truth, some beauty. And with that, they were then given the drive to get recognition for whatever that is that they are channeling, which is why artists and art world over come down. Artistry is suppressed. Artists are suppressed. They have got to bleed for their art. And we know who bleeds the most? The hustlers. And that's why they get there the most. There are people who are both hustler and merit, artists of merit. But I guess they have to then go, well, I want fame, and I want fame so that my artistry can be recognized, so that I can then help others achieve theirs. So there you go. That's where I am at my point in life, in my 50s, after spending majority, or if not all, because I was born into privilege and my father was a high-profile personality when I was growing up, a child and a teenager, etc. And then from 18 onwards, I became a high-profile personality. And not because I courted fame, but because it was like, look at what I can do. I would like an audience to see what I can do so we can all benefit from it. Now, though, I think I'm courting fame because what was the point of me accumulating all this information? What is the point of both Dwayne and I, if we have all of these skill sets, and what do we do with it? I would like to take our experiences and mentor younger people, employ younger people. I'm courting fame now for the bigger picture. I am courting fame also for the fact that I have a lot to share. I have a lot to I have a lot of insights. I don't offer opinions and I don't offer advice, but I do have observations and insight. And I would like fame to grow our platforms. I would like fame to be able to share the information I have, that we have, the things we talk about, our ability to see things from outside of the boxes, to see, to be able to unpack well and see the false bottoms of the suitcases we unpack, to be critical with our thinking and not settle into the comfort zones that fit our narrative. I feel that Dwayne and I both, individually and together, are able to do that. And because of that, I feel that we deserve renown, because what we have to share benefits others and resonates with others who haven't been who haven't been able to understand what they're thinking, or they haven't been able to articulate what the thoughts are in their head, or they haven't had the platforms, or they're not people who have the skill sets that require visibility. There's lots and lots and lots, I believe millions of people. So this is why platforms like The Lives of Our Days need you, droves of you, to come and see. And if that makes us famous, then so be it. But this is not about that. I certainly know what it's like to be famous. I've had a lot of fame, if you want to, on a small scale, not global. But at one stage, I can honestly say I was one of the top 5 recognizable faces, voices, and of people in Fiji at one time. And I'm still fairly recognizable in that people who did not know me, because they weren't even born at that time, know who I am. And that's lovely. That's very humbling. And that's simply because I was in, as I like to say, the DNA of Fiji. I have no wish for global fame. Oh my gosh, keep it. I would like financial rewards, because I have always been able to sustain a career in my skill set throughout my entire life. And this is merely the second part of it, this phase onwards. Dwayne also has sustained a career in his artistry. And we have been fortunate in that, but also it takes a lot of commitment and a lot of belief in your artistry. Sometimes you lose belief in yourself, so you've just got to believe in the art you are creating. And then, well, it does require a little bit of audacity to get to that level where you do have fame, because fame brings more opportunities. The more famous you are, the more people just throw things at you, like, here, do this for me, and I'll pay you whatever you want. That's crazy. Also, you get discounts and freebies when you're famous. And, okay. It's public relations, all right? It's all public relations. But with fame comes the finances, and that's really what everybody wants, because people think that that's what power is. Power is lording it over others, is what people take it to. And I really, really tell you that fame is about responsibility. It's a great, great power to have, yes, but you've got to be very careful how you wield it and use it and apply it. And what do you want fame for? That's the question people need to ask themselves in this world of social media fame and these platforms that are our publicists for us. They work, the algorithm becomes your agent, your manager. What do people want fame for? I haven't been able to answer that completely. I haven't been able to pinpoint it, other than the fact that people want fame to hide themselves from themselves. They want that validation. They want to fill that part of them that can only be fulfilled by the satisfaction of acknowledgement of one's artistry. And for some people, for many people, for a lot of people who are famous now, that fulfillment actually comes from validation of being known. This is why they're constantly being photographed by paparazzi. Lopez, I see you. And as I was saying, as a journalist, I'm going to tell you this little bit of gossip about Lopez, which is not really good, and I shouldn't be perpetuating it, but I have been told on good stead that this is actual fact. She's not a good tipper. And I get it. Back when she was working tables, whatever, She knows what she did. She knows. I don't have any juicy gossip or shit when I say she knows what she did. That's not about that. As in the way she behaved. So she would grab opportunities. And there is this story. It's rumored. Do not take this. It's just pure gossip. But one particular person has said that when she was waiting on a table that Lopez and her entourage were at, Lopez looked at the waitress and said to her, "No, not you, someone else." And it's like, interesting. Why would she do that? And I think it's because Lopez knew what she did in that when she was once the waitress who was waiting on a group of famous people and she, tried to get in there and ingratiate or take attention from. This is why Lopez also applies those filters. It's still all got to do with how she looks, etc. And she looks fabulous for her, she absolutely, for the multi-squillionaire superstar celebrity she is. She looks absolutely amazing. You cannot discount that. And why shouldn't she keep performing till the day she dies? Likewise, Madonna. But this is another conversation because we're going to be talking about celebrity and what it means and why people are, Madonna is currently doing her tour of the world, her world tour, whatever, concert tour. And my gosh, it's just, and I do think some criticism is valid, but not the criticism of ageism. Some criticism is valid, but not the criticism of, oh my God, put it away, you're in your 60s. Because no one's saying that of the Strolling Bones and, Sir Ancient McCartney or Paul Ancient, McAncient. I really missed a good pun there. Fame. I don't know. But people are the ones who change. People around you, they're the ones who look at you differently. So that's where you have to know yourself. And then also understand, yes, that also means, no, you can't exploit me. You cannot use me. And you can just stay right away with your bullshit and being famous by association, because there's a lot of people like that too, who all just want some sort of social cachet by being the famous person's friend. I would like to be a famous person's friend. Not any famous person. Two particular people, Beyonce and Angelina Jolie. That's it, end of story. Oh, three, my apologies, Rekha, who is a legend of Hindi cinema. Because of the stories they would have, and also because what fantastic women they are. And I love strong, as I have mentioned before, strong, beautiful women are my weakness in a purely platonic way, regardless of fame. Anyway, it's like I go gaga over strong, beautiful women. So but I have friends who are famous on varying degrees, and oh my goodness me, not just friends, but acquaintances and colleagues who have fame. Some have global fame. Some are really desperately seeking global fame, and I know what they're like behind the scenes, and ooh boy. But people buy what they get sold. People don't look further beyond. People don't see what's there. They buy what's sold. Fame, huh? Fame, fame. I want to live forever. I want to learn how to fly high. Sorry, I really shouldn't be singing Cold. This is Fame by Irene Cara. And it was the theme song for Fame, the show. And it was based on the Performing Arts School in New York. It was really fun school. It's all these performers, and all performers seek fame. But it's not about them. It is about their artistry. Everybody wants accolades, and it's no different from going to a Monday to Friday 9-to-5 job and just seeking acknowledgement for the work you do, if it is work that you enjoy doing. So everyone looks for promotion, and the ultimate promotion, I guess, for artists is fame in their artistry. But there are those people who think that they are the artistry, that they are the art. And I get it, because in some ways, for instance, models are the art. They use themselves, they are the blank canvas. They then use their artistry to enhance a designer's vision, a designer's artistry. It's all a wonderful, it's all flows in harmony. But we'll talk more about that in The Intelligence of Beauty when Dwayne and I talk about that in another upcoming show. But for me, I think that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you have been watching, if you're here right now, thank you very much for joining me. We'll see you next week on the Sandhya Show. I will be talking about cosmetic surgery. Join me there. Cosmetic enhancement, is it for you? Not for me. Bye.